why we never make anything. So all right, we are live. Hello and welcome to another episode of the LTA Report. I lost track of how many episodes, which is a good thing. That means there's a lot of them. We had a lot of cool League of Legends, and I think this week was like quite frustrating if you're a bottom 14 because pretty much every series was had the opportunity of going the other way, but it didn't. And it's quite frustrating when you're a fan of a bottom 14. But the game of the League of Legends games themselves were very interesting. They taught us new things about the top teams and the bottom teams. Like the league is getting more closer and closer, and the idea of like, oh, maybe there isn't a clear top four is becoming less and like more and more likely. So just right off the bat, what did you think of the games? And as a Cloud9 fan, like, did you have a heart attack?
Um, so in terms of actually like on the riff stuff, no, because like I completely knew going in like the situation, like no scrims, no practice, no coach, no assistant coach with Vega V2 not there, who's pivotal to our gameplay like as well, or like our setup this year at least. Um, so like on the riff stuff, I already knew it was going to be completely close. Um, It just meant that if we lost, I would actually describe it as the most important win of our year so far. And I'll tell you why, because if we had lost, like even if under normal circumstances we like beat Lion, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's still every chance that we had lost to TL next week. So like if we had lost to Lion this week, we're in the lower bracket to start playoffs. And this team, I do feel, needs perhaps two chances, because it wouldn't surprise me to like drop a series early on, and if we would have started in the lower bracket, the pressure is then absolutely mounting, because but there is more and more discussion of when is C9 gonna like get back to the international stage, and It just would have made our life a lot harder. But we got the win. We got upper bracket. Like we move, and I'll I'll analyze the team when we play TL next week when we're back on a full week of scrims and everything's like back to normal.
I mean, I think there was, I don't know, like a gift from the heavens, the fact that you guys didn't lose.
Well,
I
like let me be clear. We should have lost that series. Like
Yeah.
it, but I'm also telling myself any of the bottom four teams would have equally gave us that gift. Like I knew facing like one of the top four teams, we just they don't throw like that. I could not believe we
100
were in
threes.
that game. Maybe, but they've like specifically against us. They've actually that's when they've looked their cleanest.
Actually, that's true.
So,
Yeah.
but I wasn't worried about like this is like the only problem I think the format kind of faces. Like we had one bad week and it completely could throw our like season into disarray. Regardless of how like we did in the best of ones, obviously like best of threes do like matter and stuff. But like it could have been a case of you lose then to TL next week, you're starting in the lower bracket, and then it's like an uphill battle from there. Because could you imagine Lion in the after being completely abysmal for like majority of the season, or the split even, and then they get upper bracket because shit happens.
Well, there was still a possibility of a three-way tie. So, actually, no, there was no possibility because DSG lost to Team Liquid and to. No, it could have happened. I mean, it wasn't guaranteed that you guys were out, but it just makes like your life very, very difficult. Also, if you guys beat Team
Well,
Liquid, like then you don't have to worry about it, right?
we beat DSG, right?
Yeah, but if DSG beats Lion and you beat DSG and Lion beat you, then there's a three-way tie for second.
Mm. It would have been either like they would have done some silly tiebreaker to like
Yeah.
decide
Well,
that.
that's assuming you lose to Team Liquid as well. So, it's not. Oh, why does it say Yumi signed for TL? Should be UG. Oops.
You signed to TL.
All right, that's better. Um, but yeah, I think what it did tell us is that our best team in Cloud9, like obviously circumstances happened. Our best team in FlyQuest, those were the two like top two teams. They are not firing on all cylinders. And with Cloud9, there's like a clear reason. But with FlyQuest, like what is going on with Whippo? Like it feels like every week someone isn't playing up to par. It feels like Quad is no longer a top two mid laner. Like I would say, Loki and Quid are definitely better than him. Some would even say Saint is like outperforming him. Kaney has had really good performances. I don't know why people are sleeping on him, but like he counterpicked us last week and with Mbessa mid, and he played the Mbessa really, really well. Like he's playing well. Sure, it was against Palafox, but like the mid lane pool is quite stacked, and Quad is like what maybe fourth at this point. Like it it, it, it even though he has like the Casio, which he's rolling people with, we're kind of used to it now. We kind of expect Casio, and even the casters were like, hey, in Fearless, Quad might not be that good because like he's very proficient on like Azir and Casio, and like you take those away, and all of a sudden he has to play like Silas. He doesn't really play Silas. He has to play like the Oriana. Well, we don't really see much Oriana, but you get the point. Like he's not that comfortable with these other champions. Whippo just had a stinker of a series. It happens. Like Whippo Gaming last split, same thing happened. FlyQuest versus Cloud9. Like he absolutely and entirely threw the game for FlyQuest, and then like FlyQuest had no problem beating Cloud9 in the playoffs. I'm not taking too much out of that specifically. It's just the idea that every week it feels like a FlyQuest member or a FlyQuest, even if they win, like the team play itself just looks iffy, and that sort of that it reminds me of 2023 summer where Cloud9 refused to lose anything despite losing every single game. It's like you look at the gold lead and like if you just assume what's going to happen the next minute, Cloud9 is going to lose. But then somehow against EG, all three games, like they somehow make it back. Against NRG, all three games, they somehow win 3-0 again. And then eventually they get to the finals, and it's like, okay, it's not going to keep working. We're not going to keep giving you chances. Like, this is the playoffs, this isn't the regular season. You can't keep getting away with like murder. And I'm kind of
Are you
getting,
referring to FlyQuest in this regards?
yes, I think
Yeah, okay,
FlyQuest are going to get a rude awakening if they continue to play like this. And like people were saying, oh, it's Cloud9 back in 2023. They're still gonna win it all. They're gonna find things. They didn't. NRG found like their footing, and I think there's a clear runner this split in Cloud9. Like Cloud9 is just, if FlyQuest doesn't figure stuff out, they're not even gonna make top two.
yeah. I think the only caveat like we'd say for C9 fans at the moment is just like we have to see to believe, like in terms of playoffs, because playoffs for a hot minute has been okay. We've always beat Fly TL like regular season. I'm never feeling uncomfortable when playing them in regular season. It's the second we turn into playoffs, it's oh okay, Impact suddenly firing again. Like Core JJ's running the map. APA suddenly looks human being again, and like Umpty's gap in bladder. Like I know what happened in the playoffs this recent split, right? It's like they look garbage, and then they play us, and then they look quite decent. So I kind of agree with you on FlyQuest. They just like, especially I think the bottom line, like Masu's been like really up and down, but then I also think that could be a factor of his team is completely like fallen off like a cliff in terms
Really,
of
I
like
think
how
Maso has
dominant
been
they
the
were.
second best AD carry right now. Like I think it's the
I
top
think
three.
he's
Yeah, go ahead.
maybe it's a case of he's trying too hard, but like the amount of deaths this guy's getting like is absurd compared to like last year. Like I think he maybe top in the league for like deaths, I think, or isolate deaths, or something along those lines, like in the AD carry role. Um, I was looking at stats the other day, but I think FlyQuest will be fine. Like like I don't see 100 Thieves being them in playoffs. C9 is kind of like a have to wait and see what playoff like C9 looks like, and I think TL are like slowly stabilizing, which I guess is a good thing for Umpty in a way, considering they just signed UG. But
Let's talk about that. Why do you think they signed Yuji?
well, because I assume that they think that it was going to go to an absolute shit show, and then unironically, since well, because they've been practicing with him for a while, it's not like I think people were concerned that oh he's had no time to embed to the team. He's been practicing with the team for weeks. Like this isn't like a like it's not it was never a planned thing, but it's not like a spur of the moment thing. I just think this is the moment that they've kind of made it official. Um, I think the meta is definitely gonna help Umpty out a lot. Like getting back on that Sejuani full time and no more Jin Zhao because that champion's complete garbage. I'm sorry.
I've been playing a lot of Zin, and he's powerful in the right spots. I'll tell you that much.
He is, but like if you actually look at his LTA record, it's like 5-15 or something stupid. He
Oh
does not
wow.
win. Like I actually want to get the stat for you because like I was shocked because I do think like Jin in like, isolation's a really good champion, but not in LTA at the moment. LTA North. Okay, it's going back up. It's now like 7-12, but at one point it was legit like he had 2 wins.
Wow. I will say for Umti, this is like a make or break split. I think Umti's career could straight up just like be over if he gets kicked off of Team Liquid. Because I don't know who picks him up. Like, does he go back to like bro? I don't know. Where does he go from there? You know, like he did everything to prove himself. He won a championship being a janitor, and now he just like the press around him is really really negative, and like I don't know that another team picks him up. Um, it's scary for his career right now, not just for his like spot on Team Liquid. Because I don't like our jungle pool is not that bad. Um, I guess our mid lane pools and our AD carry pool like are a lot better, but like in jungle, we pretty much have like we have Inspired, we have Blabber, we have Contracts, we have. I guess you could argue like Shaden, XU, those are like our weak links, right? But the rest of the league has really solid. Like Audi is really solid, and so is Umti. Like if UG takes a spot, I don't know that he has a spot on a team besides Disguise their dig, and I don't know that he wants to go there.
I mean, like I'm not talking about like Umpty's like desires, but I would take him if I was like a DSG or like a DSG or Dignitas. Like, what have you like got to lose at that point? And I do think like while I think he's been really up and down, I still think he's been quite solid in NA. And like I really like I think he's the type of jungler like if you put him on like a worse team, like that would cause a lot of upsets against top teams because he is the type of jungler that can disrupt things. I think like Dom put it like best, like if he can make the early game a bit chaotic, he does seem to find a way to control the game. If not, if it's in an even state, he's just down 30, 40 CS every game. I think, yeah. As far as like competing on top teams, I do think he'd be done in that regards.
Yeah, I'm also worried about his like mental. He sounds so depressed. Like I interviewed him after a win and a clean win, by the way, and he's like he was
Yeah.
so depressed. I thought he just got eliminated from Worlds or something. He was like talking about like how much stress he's under and how bad he feels, and I'm like, bro, you just won like a clean game. And like normally, even after losses, when I used to interview him, he'd be like happy go like, he's like, yeah, we lost, but you know it's a work in progress. And he just this is like destroying his mental. I don't know if it's this, maybe there's something else going on, but just from the outside, it seems like his mental is kind of falling apart and slowly, like, I think they signed UG not to a 1 year deal, but to 2 years, meaning like, unless you are a miracle worker, unless you're Canyon 2.0, like we're getting rid of you next year, if not next split, you know? So I don't know, like
Do you
maybe it's
think
good for
TL pulls
TL.
the trigger even if they win the split?
I don't think you can because you have to go to MSI, and then when you come back from MSI, like the turnaround between MSI, maybe they try to do it after MSI if things don't work out, sure, but like you
Because you
have
got the
Esports
Esports
World
World Cup,
Cup,
like after,
exactly. Like
yeah.
there's so much League of Legends happening from now until the end of Split 3 that for the winner, obviously, for the loser, you're just like
Is
waiting at
the
home.
Esports World Cup just before? When is that located? Like, is it before summer or is it just at the start of it?
I'm not entirely sure, to be honest.
Because what are the odds of them winning the split, performing badly at MSI, and then they'd use that as the like the excuse to make the change?
I think if they win the split, unless Umti has like a blabber crabber moment every single game, I think you stick with him. Like if you're consistently figuring out how to win with this jungler, then just keep doing that. You know, like
Yeah.
that. I don't know. It also depends on like how is he doing mentally. Like does he like a mental boom? If he mental booms at MSI, like then maybe it's like even though we want to keep him, he's just like mental boomed. You know, it really
Mm.
depends on how it's looking. I was under the opinion that like they're gonna keep Umti, but then after I talked to him, I'm like, this guy's not gonna last. I
Yeah.
right now I'm not. I wouldn't be surprised if he mental booms. Like just from speaking to him. Maybe I interview him again and like he's much more cheerful and he's like, yeah, I was going through a rough period, but like as of right now, it looks like he's just like in a very 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 downward spiral. And yeah,
I think it's hard as well because like throughout his career, he's always just been on the bottom team, so there's probably like no. There's more job security like with the bottom teams where like Brion at the time did not care about like the results.
well,
So
here's the thing with Brion. Like, yes, he was a bottom team and they didn't care about results, but he was always the shining light. It's like
right.
being the best player on a bad team versus right now he's the worst player on a great team.
Well, and that's what I was going to kind of allude to with
Uh,
like one of your topics about like Fudge. It's you take him out of the super high stressful environment, you put him on a mediocre team, and they look better. It like those type of players I despise. Not despise, but like not like you. It shows they can't hack it on the big teams. Like Fudge, he started off so well, and slowly just spiraled out of like being like a top. I still think he's like a solid to good player, but he's never. I don't think he's the top laner that's going to win you a championship anymore. I don't think he's that guy
Apparently, he's
anymore.
one of the 3 worst, LTA players in the entire league. But what
I
do I
mean,
know?
I wouldn't. I mean, I ain't listening to a guy that only talks good when he or talks shit when he wins. Like,
And then
I
blames
don't
the
know.
league when he loses. Yeah. Anyways, I do want to talk about Fudge. Like this is like I get to parade around. I've been saying since the very beginning, like this is a team of veterans. Give them time, like to figure out how they're going to be able to play because they can all return back to like their peaks. And I think that Shopify is unique in that it's I think in Team Liquid, this team completely and entirely burst into flames. On CLG, like in past, this team would completely and entirely burst into flames. I think with the environment of Shopify, like knowing the behind the scenes or some of the behind the scenes and what the players and like coaches and like the management especially are trying to push with this team, I think this is like one of the few environments where they can be like, okay, just like we don't have to like get good now. We can actually like learn and take it step by step. And that's something that like you don't have very often on a lot of teams because win now or bust because our entire like model is based on us winning. And if we don't win, we're not profitable. And like Shopify doesn't really care about that. But going back to Fudge and like how he started off so well, this is something I Will Dominate has talked about a lot. He's like when you start off on a winning team and then all of a sudden you're not on a winning team, like you haven't went through adversity. He was talking about Yike on G2. This is when they got rid of him. They picked up Skumon, and he was saying, "I want to see Yike suffer because that will build character. Because Yike had everything so easy for him, and if he really wants to become that next generation of player, that next like step, he needs to take a team that's not full of winners, that's not Caps and BB, and like actually lead the game." And not just have everything told to him. And he did that, right? And now everybody's looking at Yike completely different than how they looked on G2, where he was like this role player that they got rid of. Now people are even like when they won the split, people were like, oh my God, like was it a mistake to pick up Yike, to let go of Yike? Like that's what people were saying. And I think it's the same
Mm.
thing with Fudge. Like he was on a team with like remember, he joined with Perks and Sven, like 2 of the Western GOATs, right? Like 2 of the most decorated players to ever touch League of Legends from the West, not named Caps, and like he had it all to him. He played with Blabber his entire career, who was like one of the NA goats. He had a lot that was given to him, and now that he's off of a team where it's like not a top team, this is where he proves your character. This is where you really learn, like digging yourself out of the mud. And I think he's doing a good job at it. Like from day one of Shopify to like what he looks today, he's clearly improved. His mentality has improved on it. His gameplay has improved on it. I will say Contracts is another player who I thought has also improved. Like Contracts is playing better. Palfox still has his up and down. I think Bvoy, people don't give much credit to him, but like he wasn't playing that well to begin the split. And he's playing a lot better now. He's a lot more consistent. He's winning the bot lanes more. He's like not dying as much as he had some like really stupid deaths where he wasn't flashing things. He's back like mechanically. He's looking better. And Seo's just, I mean, he's playing as if he never missed a beat. I know a lot of people didn't watch CBLOL, but like his mechanics are clean. He's like timing everything. His flashing gauges are good. And slowly the team is coming together. Their team play still needs some work, but you can actually tell like they'll make a mistake one week and the next week they won't make that mistake. And it's so refreshing to see like a team actively like improving on the things that we're identifying to be problems, and like new problems are showing up, sure, but we're not throwing at Otacon when we have Baron, right? We threw at Otacon because it was a 4v3 and we didn't turn, but it's a new problem, and like we're fixing it, and we were able to, I don't think week 1 like Shopify even take a game against, like, or even close against FlyQuest, right? But the fact that we should have won 2-0, like we kind of threw game 1, we won game 2, like the fact that we were that close gives me hope and should give FlyQuest fans like a bit of a panic. Like you shouldn't be losing to Shopify if you're trying to make it to MSI, right? If your goal is like we want to finish top 3, sure. But if your goal is like we're going to MSI, you really shouldn't be losing these games.
Uh, that was a lot to unpack. I think
I
it
know. There
kind
was
of like
Shopify fudge, and then even I had to throw
there was
some
a
shade
couple
at
of like
Shopify.
contradictory things in there in terms of like the FlyQuest stuff because you've already said about the like if the Shopify players like can get back to their peaks, then like they could be like a top team. I think none of these play. I don't rate B-Boy, and I never will. But the rest of the players, maybe excluding Paddlefox as well, in that are or have been in their careers like very, very like upper echelon players. They've all played um, contracts, maybe not as much, but I actually think he's been one of the bright spots for your team, even when you were looking like really bad.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's been like very solid this year. Um, with Fudge, it's like what like I now want to see what does it look like when he returns to there is expectation because or like any player without expectation can perform greatly and like at some point Shopify will have to go towards a like okay now we're starting to win because if you don't believe in like because at one point you called these like this would have been like a super team in the past.
In 2023, it would have
Well,
been, yeah.
right. So like these players there should be expectation like on these players to win because none of the players outside of like maybe even B-Boy, but like this guy got a first team All Pro. Like this, they should be thinking about at least in the summer trying to break into that top four. Now, if one of the top four teams completely bombs out in playoffs, I know you'll probably be looking at 100 Thieves as like the team that you'd want to like hurdle in that regard because I think they've evidently looked the weakest out of the top four. But it'd be interesting. I think FlyQuest will be fine. I wouldn't be like as a FlyQuest this year at least thinking like we're in any like form of trouble. I think it'll be like this maybe for another topic. It'll be interesting to see how they like go into the market next year. Like considering Whooper will be off the team. You don't know if Inspired is like you've already said. You think like Quad's already like falling down, and but you've seen the impact that that's had on like the bottom lane as well. Which is still like a young bottom lane. Like, to be fair.
Yeah, just to be fair, I'm a huge quad fan, and I think he can pick it back up. But and he has been
Mm.
like last week he played better, and it was like Whippo's turn to like not really play well. But it's just like I don't like the fact that they're inconsistent, and I think if this was last year, I wouldn't maybe be as worried. But the fact that we only got one team to go to MSI, and it's already like people already say it's probably Cloud9, not FlyQuest, and FlyQuest like isn't doing much to like convince people otherwise. And there's only two teams that go to Worlds, and if Team Liquid like pick themselves back up, or UG comes in and saves Team Liquid, if like it gets scary when if you're just saying Cloud9 is going to MSI, like Cloud9 comes back, has improved from MSI because like that's what FlyQuest did. They went, even though they bombed, they kind of got better. Same thing with Team Liquid. Like the teams that go international get experience. They're going to come back, and chances are they're going to make it to the next international. And it's really scary if you're a FlyQuest fan and you don't make it to MSI, and all of a sudden like Team Liquid have improved, and like you're looking to switch in a top laner who's not necessarily like fitting in very well, or it's like new. Like I'm not saying I'm not like hitting the panic button just yet, but I am like opening up the case that's on top of the panic button and looking at it because I'm like, okay, these next few weeks are going to teach me a lot about FlyQuest.
Yeah, I think it's a really like it's such an interesting year, like with the formats and like, all that stuff because I do believe C9 has to go to an international this year. It's so hard when there's only one spot for MSI, two spots for Worlds. Like who? Because you have four teams pushing. I don't think, as of right now, any of the bottom four teams are going to be pushing to compete for a world spot. Like, I'll be completely honest.
I think it's a little early to tell. Like I said, something could happen and implode. I think right now, just for MSI, is like I don't think any of the top four teams are gunning for MSI, but
I think
come summer,
I
we'll have
think
to see what happens with Team
for
Liquid.
Lion and Shopify specifically, you have to just keep churning through the basics because I don't think either of those teams are absolutely terrible like early on. But then like, you see later on why they're evidently not a top four team. Like Lion, in particular, if you don't win that series against
I
C9,
know.
you're never beating them. Like you're never beating them. Sorry.
It's like they gave you
Like
everything. You had Elder, man.
outside of Dig and DSG, every team in the league 2-0's them that week. Like it was really, really rough. And
Well,
even in
every
that
team
game
should
three,
2-0 them, but like Lion kind of didn't,
right,
right?
right, that week was so rough. Like I always go back and watch C9 games. I didn't watch that. I didn't rewatch that series.
I love watching I Will Dominate. Like I watched C9 series twice as well. First time I watched the actual broadcast, and the next time I watch I Will Dominate.
Same,
Watching
because if only because like I find it really interesting him talking about our team from
exactly,
like his
yeah.
inside coaching perspective.
But yes, like to your point, I think Cloud9 really need to make an international, and I would be surprised if they don't. I would be very surprised if they don't. But I think like I'm gonna reserve judgment for summer until summer starts because again, it's a very different format, and it's like I don't even know what it's gonna look like. I don't truly understand the like, oh, you pick your opponent, but like who gets to pick first when you have 4-1-0 teams and 4-0-1 team? Like, is it based on last played? How like until I fully understand the format, I can't even judge if because like do you remember at Worlds the monkey analogy where it's like if you had just like 6 monkey teams, right? Like the 3 NA and 3 EU teams, and you had the rest of the field being like China and Korea. In like 80% of situations, a monkey team will make it out of Swiss stage because they end up being beating only other monkey teams, and it was like a, a flaw of the format where it's like you could actually make it through without beating some of the better teams. And I don't know if this next format is going to have something similar where it's like, you know, Team Liquid should have made it to top two, but because they had to play against FlyQuest and Cloud9, meanwhile 100 Thieves played against Shopify and Dignitas, like maybe it's just, you know, format diff. I don't know. I have to like really understand it to be like, okay, there's a chance, there's like a higher chance of upset versus lower. That's like one thing I'm quite excited to learn about actually coming into next split. But as of right now for MSI, I think like if one of the non-4 teams, top 4 teams goes, even if it's Shopify, I'll be like very confused and something must have went wrong somewhere on multiple levels, multiple times.
Like the changing, like the multiple like formats really like does me in. Like I have not enjoyed any format. I'm not gonna lie this year. Like I haven't enjoyed this like shitty little group stage. Like because it genuinely feels like the best of ones was like a different split. It's weird.
You know
Like,
what
and
I
I'm
would
not
have
saying that
enjoyed?
because gone.
If the top 4 teams were in one group and the bottom 4 teams were in a second group, the bottom 4 teams fight for 5th and 6th spot, and the top 4 teams fight for seeding 1st through 4. Like, I think it would be so much cooler if every week we just had FlyQuest versus Team Liquid, and then Team Liquid versus 100, Team Liquid versus Cloud9 on that side of the like we still have it, but like we're not gonna see, for example, 100 Thieves play Team Liquid. We're not gonna see FlyQuest play Cloud9. I want to see those matchups. I want to see it twice, actually. So yeah, I think it would have been so cool if we had like the bottom 4 teams figure out who the better 2 are,
Dude,
and like you don't get a bye, you're 5th, 6th, or maybe you fight for a bye. I don't know. Maybe sure if you really want to like fight against 3rd and 4th to see who is actually 3rd and 4th. But like I think it would have been cooler to just put the crap teams in the crap like section. I know why they're not going to do that because viewership, right? You don't want half of your teams to only be crappy and like nobody to watch those because you really care about your average viewership. I understand. But I think as a format for viewer experience, it's just cooler to see the top 4 teams going against each other. And if you don't care about the bottom 4 teams, like I'm not going to watch Lions versus Disguised. but I'm a hell of like I'm only gonna watch the Shopify games. Well, if I'm doing interviews, I'm gonna watch all. But like, I just think that would have been a better switch in my opinion.
Yeah, I haven't enjoyed them. Like it's kind of a lot of things have kind of like killed this season for me as like a fan. Like outside of like my work and stuff. Like
Mm-hmm.
the multiple, like, it's jarring going from one day, like a Saturday in studio, to a Sunday you're in the fucking closet, like multiple times, and like the combination of you're pairing the LTA with Valorant, like it really jars me out as a League of Legends fan, even though I watch Valorant as well. Um, the formats are just like you. I really did not need to see best of ones. I had never been so like unhappy beating TL and FlyQuest in my life. Like, like you should have that like feeling of like excitement. I didn't. I wasn't excited to play FlyQuest in a best of one because like who cares?
Same. Yeah, the best one was like I'm glad it was only 3 weeks. Like I
And
was
dude,
so
we
done
may
with it.
still
Yeah.
only play like our teams. That may have been the only time we played this entire year. Like, it's still that's still a possibility where we played one best of one.
No, you played in the first split. You beat FlyQuest.
Did we play Shop? No, Shopify. I'm talking about.
Oh,
Like, I said our
Shopify. I thought.
teams.
Oh, I
Yeah,
heard. Yeah.
that
Okay.
one best of one. One best of one. It may still have been the only time we played this year
That
because
would be sad.
we may not play in the next split if you like somehow got eliminated early.
Yeah. My problem honestly isn't even like the format. I like I said the best of ones I agree with you kind of sucked, and like I think little bit of a change with this group like stage would have been cooler. But my biggest problem is that why do I not understand the format of Split 3? Why do I have to wait until July for you to like truly explain it? Why don't you come out with like a pretend, draft or whatever it is like for the group and explain it really well so that people know exactly what's going on and I don't have to wait until week 1 where the casters spend 5 minutes trying to explain, not the casters, the lounge spends 5 minutes and the casters spend like another 3 minutes and then like over the weeks slowly I'll understand what's going on, but like why can't I understand it from when you announce it? Like they said, oh, we're going to come up with more explanation when time comes close. Why not just explain it? I don't know. I wish I knew
Yeah,
what split 3 was happening and how it works. Like I wish I read it multiple times. Like I just don't know how it works. Like fully. Obviously I understand the
yeah, me
gist of
too.
it. I just don't understand like who gets to pick when and like yeah, I have confusion.
Hmm. Who do you think will be going to finals? If you had to pick a
Um
finals right now.
right now for MSI finals, well the way
No,
the
no, like, or sorry for like LTA. So like,
yeah, to go to
obviously,
MSI, that's what I meant. Yeah,
the
yeah,
two,
sorry.
the two finalists qualify for the Esports World Cup. Not that it matters.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to go Cloud9 and FlyQuest. Um
Mm.
as of right now, like just from what we've seen. I think Team Liquid still need to figure out what they're doing. I think 100 Thieves are like the wild card. I could see them making it. I wouldn't be surprised if they made it. Wouldn't be surprised if they don't make it. Um, so yeah, I think the safe bet is Cloud9 FlyQuest. What about you?
I just have this weird feeling it'll be TL versus someone in the finals, whether that be any one of. None of the teams being in the finals surprised me. And ironically, maybe C9 in the final would maybe be a bit surprised because like they have to. No, no, I know it sounds like hilarious, but they have to show it because at some point, as good as they have been in regular seasons, they need to overcome that like that duck of um like a best of 5 win against a TL Fly 100 Thieves.
I think that's fair. Like, even though they're a bunch of champions, they haven't shown championship pedigree in quite a bit. And so it's like, okay, at some
Mm-hmm.
point, you need to prove it. Like Blabber, you need to make a final. Like, you need to make it again. Same thing for Vulcan and Sven. Like you need to do this again. And maybe Loki gets really nervous. Like Loki was very nervous split one. He talked about that publicly, and so did Rebirth. He was like, yeah, he was just like nervous, and now you can see when he's like gotten used to it. I know it's still going to be an LTA stage, like in Riot Studios, but still, like the pressure, you never know how a rookie deals with it. Not everybody is Masu and deals with it great. Some people aren't, and they completely crumble, like Tarzan, for example. And eventually, he won. Actually, he hasn't won a domestic split yet. Damn, that's crazy. He's still one of the greatest junglers, but still, like he's it he choked that first finals, and you never know what happens with Loki. Maybe he chokes the semifinals, like the lower bracket finals, and all of a sudden it's Team Liquid versus 100 Thieves again, or versus FlyQuest. Yeah, I can see why you're worried.
Yeah, maybe worried slash just literally just a waiting game.
Yeah,
Gotta see how it goes.
or not worried, but you want to see it before you believe it. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Like, I want to be confident, but I know I've been burned too many times on that road before. Like, I genuinely thought we were gonna win last split, and probably should have, considering how like that TL series went like initially.
yeah, but then you were gonna play 100 Thieves, and who knows? 100 Thieves like tend to do well against you guys. Maybe it's a matchup thing. I don't know.
Maybe,
Yeah,
but
coulda, woulda, shoulda. Who knows? Yeah,
I
ifs
was
are.
yeah, I was expecting finals at least.
Yeah, I thought you guys were gonna beat Team Liquid too. Actually, you were actually pretty confident. I remember talking about it even
Yeah,
before, like as soon as even before the first like the quarterfinals was played. You're like, oh, if we're on the same side of Team Liquid, unless Team Liquid do something magnificent, like we're a shoe in for finals, and then they did something magnificent.
hmm yeah, I gold it pretty well. I figured it out.
So there's one more topic we got to talk about that you mentioned. I actually really like the idea. So if you want to bring it up.
Yes. Yeah, so like in soccer, you have the UEFA Champions League, which is the teams that qualify for like the top four in their leagues, like the previous season. So then, like in the next season, concurrent with their domestic league, they will play European games, which is the equivalent of international games. So like the Champions League is like Worlds, but underneath that, they have what's called the Europa League, and underneath that, you have what's called the Conference League, which is the same format from like the Champions League. So like let's just say you had Worlds, and then underneath that you had a smaller international event that was the exact same format, just it's not Worlds, right? They have it for the teams that are not like the creme de la creme, like, and it just while it's a cash cow, it's a really cool thing of like you get to see unique matchups that you wouldn't experience domestically, and I just think it'd be a really cool idea for League. Like the top, let's just say you had like I don't know, like 100 Thieves versus like a Koi. It's like they're kind of like the similar placing in the standing. They're not the teams that have gone to Worlds, but they're the teams just under that. And you don't have like your T1s and your Gen Gs and your Hanwha Lifes and like who would be LPO like um AL and top esports and stuff, right? You wouldn't have those teams. It would be the next teams under that.
I think this presents a really cool and problematic opportunity. I think Kespa Cup and Demacia Cup were kind of like that. There were all the teams and some amateur teams sometimes, not amateur, but tier two teams that didn't make it to Worlds. So like if T1 won Worlds, like they didn't have to, or they would send in like a shoe in roster, they just wouldn't compete. And I think what Kespa and Demacia figured out were that people don't really care very much about it if there's not like the main top three teams going there. And so what Kespa started doing is like, hey, you actually have to have your roster here, even if you played in Worlds, even if you just finished in November. In December, you have to like be playing. Same thing with Demacia. Like you have the only exception was BLG because they made it all the way to the finals. But besides BLG, every top esports had their full roster. IG, AL, they all had their full rosters. Weibo when they went to World, like it didn't matter that you went to Worlds. And I think like that might be a reason for Riot to say, oh, we saw the experiment in a more successful league and they decided we actually need the top teams to make this interesting. The only caveat I'll give is that this is international, and in general, fans will just tune into international. Even if they're like T1 fan,
Right.
they just want to see LCK supremacy. And so, like, that might be a thing where it's like, okay, we're having another event, but then like Riot is very stingy with events these days. So maybe you just have it in LCK studio and you make all the teams fly out. Like, even if it's not like huge
So
production, I still think it could work.
like so here's how like obviously Riot are never gonna do it because of like scheduling and stuff, and like there's no time to have this unless you really decided you're gonna have it around the same time that Worlds is going on. But like in my hypothetical world, here's how I would like format it. So like Worlds is the creme de la creme. It has the big stadiums, it has all the big arenas, it has all the lights and the pyro and stuff. The tournament below that, because I would do 3 tournaments. So I would do the middle tier tournament would be in your studios, like the LCK studio or LEC arena and stuff like that. So like it's still an international tournament, but it's in a much smaller venue. I would then have a tournament below that that is strictly online, like Dota 2, like TI style, where they're having the most of the matches are in a freaking they're in like hotel rooms,
Mm.
and like it's just like an online port, like it's an online event. It's still international, and it's still going to be on the tournament realm and stuff. It's just online because it's going to be like your freaking your DSGs versus whoever like the 10th like DNF freaks or whatever the fuck they're called in LCK. Like it'd be like your red, like your bottom tier teams, and they get to play like an online event.
I don't know that Riot would want to do something like that, even if it's like Riot
I would
has
never. No,
standards.
they
Yeah.
would never. But like, in my opinion, more the better. Like, even like yes, even though technically you would be saying every team or every like team in the major regions qualifies for an international event, but you would much rather be qualifying for Worlds than playing in like the event that's in a hotel
Yeah.
room.
Like having to
Like so,
fly out
like
and
you're
just play
still
from a hotel makes a lot less sense than.
right, but like there's still that consolation of like you still get to compete internationally. You're just not getting like the Worlds experience. Like the Worlds is like for your elite teams that are privileged to be there.
Yeah. I don't know. Could be a cool idea. To at least try an international events of like the bottom teams, or not the bottom, but the middle of the pack teams, like Nongshim and like BLG at this point is a middle tier team, but like even IG is a middle
Right,
tier team.
and like that's the thing. So even though they won't be like the most elite teams, like freaking T1 could finish fourth or fifth in LCK, right? And then they're in the like the middle tier international event. So you'd still be getting like you could have a T1 versus BLG, but in the mid tier event, which would be pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean Kerman like brought a really good idea. Maybe like starting off internationals too much. Just do like sort of rift rivals kind of thing, where it's like LEC versus LTA, but it's not your top teams. Kind of like what you said. We have Koi playing off against 100 Thieves, and LPL versus LCK and LCP that area. I don't know that they'd actually do it
The
during
problem
Worlds,
with
maybe
that
after
is
Worlds.
you. The problem with that is players didn't care. Like unless it was an actual tournament style event where something is up for grabs, they wouldn't care of doing like just an NA versus EU
Well, that's
type
because
deal.
it was in the middle of a split. Someone had to travel, and it was like very short, and the top teams were playing, and the top teams weren't always the same. But
Right.
my AD carry saying that 100 Thieves is going to win the split. Sure, buddy. But if you do it like after Worlds and you give it a little bit more like not majesty, but like importance, and it's not the top teams, like if you're a core, like if you're a G2 and you're like, oh, I'm just going to win the split and go to Worlds, you don't really care about Rift Rivals. It's kind of a waste of travel. But if you're a Koi who didn't make it and all of a sudden you're like, well, at least I can show my fans something, I think that's very, very different.
Yeah. I don't know. Like here I am daydreaming about more international events when we can't even get an LTA
I
like
know, right?
finals else out of the studio.
We still don't know where LTA finals is going to be for Split 3, by the way. We still don't know where it's going to be.
Would not surprise me if it was in LA. That'd be hilarious. People would lose their shit.
I know for a fact it's not in LA. No spoilers,
I'm just
but
saying.
yeah.
Yeah. I'm just saying, like, the absolute people like David go nuts.
Yeah.
Like seeing that stuff. I think that's all
Yeah.
I've like really had on that topic.
Yeah, I think we got through the topics relatively quickly. I think like there's not much like there's almost drama. Like we all like Cloud9 almost lost, FlyQuest almost, but they didn't. So it's like, okay, well, things are still like a year from now, we're gonna look at the score and be like, the top 4 teams won, the bottom 4 teams lost, and it's like that doesn't tell the whole story. But
That
I
was
think
their one time. That was their one time to win. Like for these bottom four teams.
yeah,
Like new season patch just dropped. Teams aren't looking hot. We were talking about the oh, just for blame to David.
yeah, we
We were
still don't
talking
know
about
where.
like the mid tier international event.
Oh, I thought you were. I thought he was asking about like
Oh, what did I mean? I
not
thought you
knowing
just
where
meant
the
like in
finals
general.
was. Yeah.
Oh, I was saying you'd lose your shit if it was in LA.
I'll spend my money on 100
Yeah.
Adidas merch.
It is hype, to be fair, that much. It's pretty sick.
Yeah. All right, I think we covered everything. Is there anything else you want to touch on?
I mean, every week we could probably complain about the LTA in some regards. I'm just so bored of the fucking closet. Put us online.
I prefer the closet over being online, if I'm being honest.
I just don't like looking at it. I just every time I see it, it just angers me because I like, and it angers me even more remembering. You got a bot in your Twitch one, by the way.
Yeah, we're about to end anyways.
Um,
It angers you
no,
even more.
I not. I haven't seen the tweets. I've
Me
not really been on
neither.
Twitter today.
I haven't been on Twitter in weeks, honestly.
Uh,
What happened?
I will go to David. I assume he's replied.
I actually saw people talking about it, but I didn't see what.
Really? Building fandom. Fuck off.
Wait,
Like
what?
politely, fuck off.
Wait, what happened? I'm very confused.
I'm just reading the last tweet where it says like esports has never been about the short-term returns to us. It's about building fandom. Yes.
Oh,
Jesus.
wait. Let me look here. Check my quote retweet. I still okay. Lastly, esports have never shown return from us. It's about building fandom, creating a fan experience, which is why you took away every single fan experience that was good. You started to slowly just cut it away. And then you're like, oh, it's about fan experience. What fan experience? You literally said fans don't spend enough money for us to give you anything. Oh my god. We aren't marketing. So we're actually supposed to be a sport without the sport. What do you how is Okay, let me read the thing. The LSD record deficit. Oh, okay. So Sheep Esports said an article. I don't know like what the numbers are, but apparently they lost. They're a deficit of 28 million euros in 2023, and the league in itself altogether with the teams 53 million losses. Riot made 1.55 billion that year, and so the commissioner responded and he's saying like there's some context that's missing or straight up inaccuracies that you want to clarify. Let me start by saying that you look at a single entity in complex corporation structure, you can easily tell a misleading story if taken out of context. We don't primarily look at esports as an advertisement vehicle. Esports is what is it? Although it can be. Esports is a core part of our DNA, given the competitiveness of our game, and of course plays a huge role in making our games some of the most watched and played in the world, which is marketing. So I don't understand what he's saying. If it's not primarily marketing, then what is it? Lastly, and most importantly, esports has never been about short-term returns. Dude, I don't know what
That makes me sick listening to all that.
how out of touch is this guy? Like, I love this stupidity. This has to be like so out of touch with reality, right? You don't say, oh, you don't care so much about viewership. If it's about giving fans an amazing experience, then why are we talking about viewership with every single thing? Our format can't be the way it is because of viewership. Our teams, we can't have that many teams because of viewership. We can't do this because of viewership. We're in a closet because of viewership. But then all of a sudden, it doesn't matter because first and foremost, we care about your fan experience. Then give us another studio. Give us roadshow events. Give us more stuff. Like, stop taking away stuff. We're not asking for more stuff. Just stop taking away the things that we already had. This guy runs Europe, by the way. Yeah, yeah. Okay, that's actually crazy, man.
But like, you can't expect that like long term to be a fine strategy of like we're just gonna coast with these numbers that are going up. It's not like it's been like kind of steady. Like these numbers are increasing year on year. Like how the fuck are you saying it's about like fan experience and all that? Like you're so lucky you have teams that actually care. Because your league is no different from ours, buddy. It just so happens that our teams don't know that they can't do it. Like you're what's the difference? You're not running it any better than ours. You're like you are fortunate that there's teams that are willing to forego these costs at the expense of putting on fan events.
Exactly what David, the point he just made. He's taking credit for what these teams like Koi, K Corp, G2, Fnatic are doing, and it's actually they have actively done stuff to make those teams work harder and then takes credit for what they're doing. The LSC did nothing to help. Exactly. The teams had to pay for the road trips, and you say you're building fandom. That's so spot on, by the way.
Like, this is like when freaking LTA tried to take like pat themselves on the back for Brazil's viewership
Oh
numbers.
yeah. Dude, it was so funny because I watched the pit, right? The crossover. Sorry. And David was like, I'm going to be so pissed when Mark Z comes out and be like, viewership was great, look at what we did. And then he came out and he was like, viewership was great, look at what we did. It's so funny. Don't worry, we'll make another e-boat. Okay, speaking of what G2 and Koi are doing and stuff like with co-streamers and all that stuff, Shopify signed Ludwig and Charlie and did so little with them. Can we please, like, I'm going to, like, all throughout the offseason, I'm going to be begging Shopify to sign another person who's not a co-owner, whose sole job is to just stream League of Legends. Like, some Broxa-esque figure, like someone like, Basil, who can do what Basil does, who brings a fan base to start becoming Shopify fans and talk about Shopify and tweet about Shopify like League of Legends without anybody else. I just want someone who's not Ludwig because Ludwig is too busy doing other stuff. Someone who's not Charlie because Charlie is too busy doing other stuff. Someone who's like at the 2 to 500,000, subscriber or follower range, not someone in the millions, who can actually dedicate a whole year just talking about Shopify, building fandom for Shopify, and someone that us content creators can also look at and be like, yo, let's like, here's a cool idea, or hey, this guy represents Shopify. Because right now I'm small, I don't represent Shopify, even though to a lot of people, like, that's the first thing that they think of to tweet at me whenever we lose, which is fine. But I just want someone to be the face of Shopify, and right now Ludwig and Charlie are not doing it.
I foresaw this from the start. I know, I know it started off like really promising in terms of the announcement was hype, and like I do have to wrap up, but I just like very quickly
Yeah.
I'll touch on this topic. Like it was hype. They did like the $20 jerseys to get everyone like to reel everyone in. Like, oh, I don't really support this team, but like, who says no to a $20 jersey? You had like Ludwig do the like the league marathon he did to plat. So you thought, okay, this guy's going to be dedicated. Based on his Valorant team, I already knew from the jump this guy's doing fuck all.
He goes stream.
Like
He went to
this
LTA
guy,
one day.
like, like this guy, the most like for the men's because they're I don't know if they're still in it now, but they're at the time their female roster was fucking incredible.
The Valorant or Moist team? Sorry, the Shopify or
Valorant,
Moist?
the Shopify
Oh,
Valorant
oh yeah, yeah.
women's
Our
team.
women's team is still like absolutely crushing. Yeah,
But like in terms of like the men's one, which I think was more his focus,
our men
the
team's
most
not that great.
popular thing because it was a tier 2 team, but the most
Yeah,
popular thing about that was the head coach was a co-streamer. So that was the only thing that made them even like somewhat relevant in the tier 2 scene. Like this guy spends the bare minimum for one. Like when everyone was saying like Shopify's gonna like big spend, no, I never saw that. Like he never really truly invested in like trying to immediately push for like tier 2 in Valorant because you can go up very quickly. And like, even though I think they're a solid team, it was more off the back of like I think good scouting and stuff, not in like going hard like G2 did, where they just bought out one of the tier 1 rosters that fell out.
yeah. I'll give three
Um,
names. I'll give three names that Shopify could sign today to co-stream games and just be a content creator for that team. And I think all of them have their own unique, like, spice to them. You can't really do I Will Dominate because he's like kind of working with Cloud9. So unfortunately, you don't have that. I think Yamato Cannon is someone who's like doesn't really have a team. I think he stopped coaching like not Ready Esports. Yeah, Ready Esports. He stopped coaching it, right? Like they got someone else, if I'm not mistaken.
I think he's somewhat involved. I know he's still like co-streaming that stuff every time.
But yeah, like co-streaming is like different, right? So yeah, I think you could do Yamato Cannon. I think you could do Solar Baka. He's constantly playing, like he talks about pro play all the time. He's like actually like interested in this stuff. People watch his stream all the time. Like he's obviously not so big that he's not like K-Drill or something, but he's like constantly playing League of Legends and cares about League of Legends and cares about NA League of Legends as well. I think that's like a super cool person that you could. And then I think Lorlo's on Team Liquid, but I feel like you could just take Lorlo away from Team Liquid. I think Lorlo would be like a really cool person, especially because like he knows a bunch of people like Contracts and Fudge and Palafox. Like he could have a bunch of stories and stuff like that. I think that's the third person I would say you could probably like pull without much difficulty. Like you wouldn't have to go and hire like Miss Chim Chim or something, like someone not in that tier. I would love to see any one of those, to be honest, but that's just me. Oh, he's still
I just don't know
coaching
how much
Ruddy.
of an
Okay, then
impact
Yamato
those.
might be out of it, or maybe he could do both. I don't
I don't
know.
know how much.
You don't know how
Like
much
while
what?
agree looking at the co-stream, I don't know how much like the co-streaming stuff will actually make an impact on like because we have videos. It doesn't do anything, and he consistently is like co-streaming our games. Like
It
yeah,
does
we get
though.
like
Look at your YouTube numbers. Look at how much, like your videos. He's in your videos. I'm not just saying co-stream. I'm saying make content with the team.
okay, sure that in that aspect, but I don't think. No offense to Meteors, I don't think the viewership from our videos have been like Meteors driven at all. I think that's been like,
I don't
and
think the
people
teams.
on the people on the dive can attest. Like, I think they would rather someone else be than Meteors.
I don't think your team would be like your videos would nearly be as watched without Medios. He is the glue, and first of all, he brings people. He's the person that's like pushing the conversation. I think it's actually really important that he's doing what he's doing with you guys because I don't even think that the your players would
I think
want
we'd
to
get
do
someone
it.
else though that could probably. The thing is, would easily be able to do like I will dominate. He was doing it before, like
But he's remote.
sure, but I don't know. Like we did videos with him in the past when he was like interviewing our stuff. remotely before, and like the videos were completely fine. And I think it would actually drive more views if we had Dom and Meteos. But I do agree he's good for the podcast. But one thing that I don't think the viewership specifically, like people are going because of like Meteos. He's I guess he is part of it, but
Well, okay, Meteos has also
like
been on Cloud9 for a very long time, so that's like it's hard to separate Cloud9 fans from Meteos fans at this point. I think us
mm,
signing someone new would be very clear that like, oh, these are new Shopify fans because of Solar Baka, or these are new Shopify fans because of Yamato Cannon, and these are new Yamato Cannon fans because of Shopify. You know, like even if the number isn't the same, but I do think that um having someone dedicated who is going to post videos on your channel and on his channel of team content of like this team, and just like we see them play once a week. What about the other days? Like I know Shopify is like doing
I
really
mean
well
we
with
do
shorts
get.
actually.
I will just before I head out, I will say
Yeah.
it is nice having Dom post all our games to his channel.
Yeah.
Like every single series of C9, he's putting up on like his channel. Although like I think we don't get any return on it. Like ourselves, it's still like free publicity on our games.
Yeah. I will say last thing. Yeah, Shopify like has been posting like shorts like almost every single day, and they've been doing pretty well. And I want to see them continue with like their content. Like getting consistent and posting every single day is like the first step. And the second step is like, okay, what are you posting? And like how can you involve more people and get more eyeballs? Because like they're hitting like, 7, 11K, 2K, 16K, 16K again, 6K, 1K. Like it's up and down, which is normal, but which is I think their range is like a pretty good range. But yeah, that's my hope for Shopify. Like sign someone, please. All right, man. This was a fun episode. As usual, we found stuff to complain
Just a
about,
bit.
but we're always going to do that. And thanks everyone for watching. It was hopefully you guys enjoyed as well. And in the comments, let me know who Shopify should sign. Not saying they will, but I'll try my best to get them to try to sign someone.
I think they have more of a chance of getting you as the co-streamer
I'm
than.
not big enough. I'm not big enough. Like you
Hey,
can get
you
me
made
and
the
someone
LTA
else.
last week. You made
I
the
did. I
LTA
did.
last
It was
week.
pretty fun. It was pretty cool. Didn't expect a DSG interview to do that, but hey, I'll take it.
You take the wins.
I thought I had some really cool interviews with Impact, for example, or like champions. Like, nope, it's the one with DSG. I'm happy about it. So, and it at least it validates the fact that I'm doing interviews. Other people be like, oh, it's like a weak team, like a bottom team. No one cares. Like, apparently not. All right, I gotta head out as well. Peace out, man.